Imagine having a lion as your pet. You feed it, play with it, and maybe even let it sleep beside you. Sounds amazing, right? But there's one enormous problem. That animal may be comfortable around you, but that doesn't mean it has become a pet. There's a massive difference between being tame and being domesticated. And understanding that difference changes everything. Because even if a lion seems friendly, its instincts haven't disappeared. So why exactly can't we turn lions and tigers into ordinary pets? The answer goes much deeper than claws and teeth. First, let's clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings. A tame animal is simply an individual animal that has learned to tolerate humans. It may trust a particular person. It may even enjoy human company, but its basic nature remains the same. Now compare that with domestication. Dogs, cattle, goats, and many other animals have been shaped by generations of selective breeding. Humans repeatedly selected animals with traits that made them easier to live with. Friendliness was one of those traits. Wild lions and tigers never went through that same process. You can't simply raise one wild animal and call the entire species domesticated, and this becomes especially important when the cute cub grows up. Baby lions and tigers can look unbelievably adorable. They play, they explore, and they can become attached to humans. But there's a trap hidden inside that cuteness. They grow, and they grow incredibly powerful. A playful bite from a cub can become a serious bite from an adult. Even play can become dangerous simply because of their size and strength. And strength isn't their only problem. Their brains are built for a completely different lifestyle. Lions and tigers are predators. Their bodies and behavior are designed around hunting and survival. They watch movement. They react to sudden motion. They can respond to things humans barely notice. A running person can trigger a completely different response than a calm person standing still. That's because predators are wired to notice movement. And instincts don't disappear just because an animal knows you. You can build familiarity. You can build trust. But you cannot simply switch off millions of years of predator behavior. That's the key difference. Here's something many people get wrong. A dangerous wild animal doesn't have to hate you to hurt you. It doesn't need to be angry. It doesn't even need to be trying to attack. Sometimes the danger can come from excitement or play. An animal weighing many times more than you can cause serious injury without meaning to. Imagine playing with a cat whose paws are built to bring down large prey. The difference in strength is enormous. And then there's the equipment nature gave them. Claws, teeth, and muscles designed for catching animals that can fight back. Then there's another problem most people forget: territory. Wild cats aren't designed to live inside a small human home. They evolved to move through large environments. A living room simply can't reproduce that world. When their needs aren't met, stress and abnormal behavior can appear. Repetitive behavior can be a sign that something is wrong. A wild predator needs far more than food and a comfortable bed. It needs stimulation. It needs opportunities to explore. And it needs an environment suited to its natural behavior. That's difficult enough for professional facilities. For an ordinary household, it's an enormous challenge. And what about feeding them? A lion isn't going to live on ordinary pet food. Large carnivores require substantial amounts of appropriate food, and maintaining that supply is expensive. Very expensive. But the cost isn't the biggest issue. Proper care also requires specialized knowledge. Their medical needs are different from those of ordinary pets. Even finding qualified veterinary care can be difficult. And when something goes wrong, the consequences can be serious, because there is very little room for mistakes. With a normal pet, mistakes can be inconvenient. With a giant predator, they can be dangerous. So why can dogs live with us so easily? Because dogs have a very long history alongside humans. Over many generations, humans and dogs changed together. Humans selected animals with useful and manageable traits. Animals that were easier to live with had advantages around humans. Over countless generations, this created major changes. Modern dogs are the result of that long relationship. Tigers never went through the same transformation. Their evolutionary path remained wild. And domestication isn't something you can accomplish in one generation. It takes generations upon generations, sometimes thousands of years of selective change. You may be thinking, wait a second, I've seen people online cuddling lions and tigers, and those animals look completely calm. So doesn't that prove they can be pets? Not necessarily. A video shows you one moment. It doesn't show every moment of that animal's life. You don't see every stressful situation. You don't see every unexpected reaction. And you definitely shouldn't assume that one calm animal represents an entire species. Every animal has its own personality. Some individuals may be unusually tolerant, but tolerance isn't the same thing as domestication. Could humans eventually domesticate lions or tigers? In theory, humans could potentially select for certain traits over many generations. But that would be a completely different process. It wouldn't turn today's wild tiger into a house cat. And even a domesticated descendant would still be a very different animal from today's tiger. Domestication changes populations over generations. It doesn't magically erase wild behavior from an individual. That's why today's lions and tigers remain wild animals. And treating them that way is one of the safest choices we can make. Keeping a big cat responsibly requires much more than simply owning one. You need secure housing, extremely strong barriers, constant maintenance, specialized nutrition, professional veterinary support, and strict safety procedures. That's why serious facilities spend enormous effort keeping both animals and people safe. This isn't a normal pet ownership problem. It's the responsibility of caring for a powerful wild predator. And maybe the most important point is this: lions and tigers aren't broken versions of pets. They're perfectly adapted wild animals. Their instincts make sense in the environment where they evolved. Hunting makes sense. Territorial behavior makes sense. Exploring makes sense. Their entire body and mind fit that lifestyle. The best relationship humans can have with these animals isn't ownership. It's respect. We can admire them, we can study them, we can protect them. But we don't need to turn them into pets to appreciate them. Because sometimes the best way to love a wild animal is to let it remain wild. And that is exactly why a lion or tiger can be tame around humans, yet never truly become the house pet people imagine.